Hello! Today we are having the third tutorial from the bags series. The first bag we have woven was round, the next one was widening towards the top, looking like a basket. Now we will get to know a bag of a different shape, and as I have promised, the third variety of forming the holders. Unlike the previous bag, this one is narrowing towards the top, and we kind of insert a holder into the very bag. It can have a cardboard bottom like the first one I have tried, but actually I like more the ones with woven bottoms, so I have made the next two with the woven bottoms. And now I'd like to share the details of weaving a bag like this with you. I'd like to note right away that for weaving a bag of this shape, it is very important for the tubes of the base to be rigid. Otherwise you will not get the required shape. For the tubes I use the A4 office paper drafts. I roll up the tubes either on a refill or on a knitting needle. I cut a sheet of paper in two, lengthwise, and you see what kind of tubes I get. I connect them in couples and form the bottom. I'm going to weave with different tubes. These ones are very rigid. I use them for a base, to form the shape of a bag. There is also a very essential point I'd like to draw your attention to, the calculation of the oval. I have used this form I prepared for my previous bag as a guideline. I pattern on this oval, which will be the base of my bag. How did I calculate the number of the tubes to get the oval like this? To start with, I have connected 6 cross-cut tubes. I have measured and got 4 centimeters, which is about 2 inches. The width of my pattern oval is 13 centimeters, about 6 inches. The length of the oval is 34 centimeters. It is the size I have to get. So the width is 13, it is what we have to get. 13 minus 4 is 9 centimeters. We divide these 9 centimeters in 2, so we have to weave additional 4.5 centimeters to each side. To get the length of 34 centimeters and to get an even and smooth winding, I subtract 9 centimeters from 34, which is the final length of the oval I have to get. So I have to get this workpiece 25 centimeters long, and by adding the tubes gradually I have to add one more tube to get the length of the workpiece 25 centimeters. Then we will weave additional 4.5 centimeters at all the sides and will get the required length of 34 centimeters and width of 13. These are my calculations. You can form your own size of a bag with your own length and width of the oval. It is just an example of how you can calculate the size. After we have prepared the workpiece, weave in the technique of a regular rope and shape an oval bottom. I have made the intervals between the poles comfortable for weaving. Moreover, when I weave an oval bottom, I weave one row in the technique of a direct rope and the next one in the technique of an opposite rope, because otherwise an oval bottom can get curved. If you weave one row in the direct rope and the next one in the opposite rope, it comes out rather straight and smooth. While weaving the first row, I'll hold here with my fingers and grab 2 tubes at a time at the sides. Afterwards we will separate them. These tubes are regular soft tubes made of newspapers. Unfortunately, the color is a bit different, but I have tried making tubes of fax paper. Sometimes if I need pure white tubes, I make them of fax paper, but the fax paper tubes are not that soft. And I don't really like the articles made with such tubes. If you weave a separate stripe, it is okay, but if you weave the whole article this way, the quality does not satisfy me. As for writing paper the girls recommend, I have not found it yet. Honestly, I haven't been looking much, but I plan to try and find the writing paper which is white but softer than the office paper is. And continue weaving this way, 4.5 centimeters at each side. We have woven the bottom of the required size. Now to continue weaving in the same direction, I turn the article and leave the poles. For this very article I don't make the transition like we usually make, passing each poles behind the next one. Why? Because they are rather rigid and there is a big opportunity that they can break or bend in a smooth way with twists and coil breaks. That's why I just leave the poles this way, neatly pressing them to avoid breaking. They do bend, but not as easily as regular newspaper tubes do. This way, along the whole surface, I bend them upwards, and without any base, I weave 2, 4, 6. On almost all my bags I have woven 6 rows of direct opposite rope, to get the same pattern as on the bottom. Weave in the technique of a regular direct rope, in the first row trying to press the working tubes to the bottom very well, to avoid big gaps and the places of bending the tubes. Lengthen and continue weaving. After having woven 6 rows, I take the same form I've been using in the previous tutorial. The only difference is that in that case I used to place additional oval on top and was weaving it widening. In this case I put my form, 2 jars connected with thin cardboard and painter's tape, right in the middle. It is very important to place it right in the center, to avoid getting a lopsided bag. And continue weaving, pressing the tubes, especially the side tubes. They have to lie slantwise and lean against the form. To make it easier, even though the tubes are rigid, anyway, I use additional skewers for barbecue. They can be bigger or smaller. At the sides of the bag, I insert the big skewers to get a good support. They help me forming the shape of the bag. And because the tubes of the base are very rigid, I don't insert skewers in the middle of the bag. The poles of the base are rigid enough. Just while weaving, I press them to the form. And after that, I continue weaving using any of the patterns I choose. On this bag, I felt like using this pattern I have been reminded of once again by the works of a famous weaver Tanichka Pavlovna on the land of masters, Страна мастеров. Besides, when I have counted the number of the tubes, I've seen that there are 38 of them, which is exactly what is required for this pattern. That is, it is divisible 3 minus 1, and the decision has been taken influenced by these two factors, inspiration from the works of Tanya Pavlovna and the number of the tubes I have got. So now we are going to weave this pattern.